Welcome to Introduction to Optimize. This training video is part of our ongoing video series to improve accessibility of state agency websites in Arizona. During this video, we will provide an overview of the accessibility features available within the Aquia Optimize tool. We'll also discuss some of the support and training resources that are available to you. Optimize, formerly known as Moncito, provides various tools and reporting information to help find and correct accessibility issues on your website with the goal of improving the overall experience for website visitors. The service conducts a weekly scan of your website and looks for things like broken links, misspelled words, state policy violations, and most importantly, accessibility compliance checks to ensure your site meets the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines version 2.2 level 2A. The Aquia Optimize tool is part of the website quality assurance service offered by ADOA ASET. The service is available at no cost to state agencies. If you currently do not have your site being scanned by the Optimize tool, please open a ticket with the ADOA ASET service desk and we can discuss options for using the service on your websites and online applications. To access Optimize, you will first need to visit login.moncito.com. You will then land on the dashboard of the Optimize tool. The dashboard provides a quick glance of how your website performs across all of the tools in Optimize. While Optimize offers several different tools for monitoring your website, in this video, we will only be covering the accessibility features. To visit the accessibility section, click on the blue accessibility icon in the center of the main menu at the top of the page. This will take you to the accessibility module. The summary page shows a high-level overview and several metrics related to your site's accessibility. The primary metric that we will focus on is the accessibility compliance score found in the accessibility diagnostic section. It is tempting to think that the accessibility compliance score shown is a measure of how accessible your site is. While it is a useful proxy, there is a difference between accessibility and accessibility compliance. As with all metrics, it's important to understand what you are measuring, what you are not measuring, and how the metric is calculated. The accessibility compliance score is a measure of the percentage of failing checks versus passing checks across your entire site. Just because an item is showing in the tool as a failing check does not mean that it is making your site inaccessible. Conversely, just because an item is passing does not mean that item is accessible to all of your site visitors. Before we dive into why that is, let's talk about the different issue types that we'll see within the Optimize tool. All accessibility checks and issues are broken down into one of three categories: error, warning, or review. Each category is represented by an icon, and you'll see these used throughout the Optimize tool. The bug icon represents an error. These are issues that the scanning tool has identified as problems on your site that must be resolved in order for your site to be fully accessible. These items are all failing accessibility checks that must be corrected and not just reviewed. Items identified with a bell icon are warnings or alerts. These items are most likely errors, but they require a manual review to confirm whether or not the accessibility check is passing or failing. The human eye icon are review items. These items are initially indicated as failing accessibility checks, but they may not represent accessibility problems on your website. Instead, these are items that must be manually reviewed. You'll notice these review items make up a majority of all failing checks on any particular website. When you first start using Optimize, you will likely see that your accessibility score is lower than expected. Optimize performs over 150 separate checks across every aspect of your website, including hyperlinks, images, tables, headers, footers, and much more. The reason your score appears so low initially is because the automated scanner is limited to analyzing content from the perspective of a computer. Many of the checks performed by Optimize must be reviewed by a human to determine if it is in compliance or not. The Optimize tool will identify each of these checks that require manual review and initially count them as failing checks until they have been reviewed. For example, a computer cannot accurately scan and determine whether or not the alternate text for a particular image is relevant. It can only identify where images are located on the site and if an image has alternate text provided. Of the 155 checks Optimize performs, nearly 35% of them will likely require human review to verify compliance. Once these items have been reviewed, the Optimize tool records them as compliant and will no longer report them as failing checks. Now that we understand what our accessibility compliance score represents, let's cover some of the tools available within the accessibility section of Optimize. Over on the left-hand side of the page is the Tools menu. The first tool we will cover is the Checklist tool, about halfway down the menu on the left. This is a great tool to focus in your efforts on a particular accessibility check one at a time and fix that problem across every page of your site. This is also the primary way we recommend you use Optimize to find and fix problems with your site. The Checklist tool provides a list of all checks, whether they have issues or not. It's a great way to see all the various checks that are being offered and scanned on your website. It's broken down by both level A and level AA accessibility checks within the tool. We recommend you start with the level A accessibility checks, and then once resolved, move on to the level AA checks. You can filter the results down to see just the items that are relevant to you. If you click on the funnel icon over on the top right, you'll get a filter option where you can filter by responsibility, such as UX design, visual design, or content authoring. You can also filter down on the various accessibility error types, whether it's an error, warning, or review item. Once you filter down the list, you can read the title of the check, the roles that may be responsible for correcting the check, and the specific number of success criteria as defined in the WCAG guidelines. To learn more about a particular check, you could search the internet for the WCAG success criteria and find a huge number of resources online. You can also click on the graduation cap icon to open the Help Center in a new tab. This icon will open up the Optimize accessibility guide for that particular check with an explanation about what the check does, why it's important, examples of the check in action on your website, how to fix the error, and links to a variety of additional resources. We strongly recommend you take advantage of these resources to better understand all of the accessibility checks. There is also an action button on the accessibility checklist tool for each check. This will allow you to ignore a particular check on your entire site. When you click Ignore this check, the tool will no longer tell you where you may have that particular problem. We recommend not using this button until you're very comfortable with understanding what a particular check does, all of the pages that particular check is currently failing on your site, and which pages will be affected. We have a separate video on how to use the checklist tool to ignore specific checks that have been identified as not a problem on your site. If you accidentally ignore a particular check, you can find that check under the Ignored tab at the top. You can then go click on Action and click on Unignored this check. The final section of the accessibility checklist shows your website's compliance for a particular check. It will show the % compliance for the check, as well as the number of pages a particular check is failing on. By clicking on the number of pages, you can see all the pages a check is failing on. You can then click on each page to review that particular check and take action. This is the section you will use most frequently when reviewing pending items. Within each of the optimized tools, there are two primary actions you can take to improve your accessibility compliance score. You can select either reviewed or select mark as fixed. When you select reviewed, or sometimes labeled as ignored, you are indicating to the system that you have reviewed the item and believe it is in compliance. The optimized tool will no longer report that item as a failing check. When you select mark as fixed, you are indicating to the system that you have taken action to correct the problem. The optimized tool will temporarily report that item as a passing check. When the next weekly scan occurs, if the error is still present, that item will once again be reported as a failing check. For most websites, there will be a lot of pending items that must be reviewed. We will next take a look at a couple of the other tools Optimize offers to help with your review. For each of these tools, we have separate videos in our accessibility playlist on YouTube explaining their use, and we encourage you to watch those videos. The first tool available is the Fast Track tool. You may have seen the highway icon on several of the pages we have seen so far. You can click that highway icon or use the menu item to access the Fast Track tool. Fast Track is used to quickly review various checks across your entire website or across all instances of a snippet of code all at the same time. This allows you to speed up your review instead of reviewing one failing check at a time. This is especially useful for code snippets that appear on every page of your website, such as your main menu items. Next down is the Pages with Failing Checks tool. This is an inventory of all pages on your website that currently have one or more failing accessibility checks. This tool allows you to focus in on making improvements to one page at a time and seeing all the different errors that may be occurring on a particular page. When your site is first scanned, it will usually indicate that every page on your website has an error. This is because of all of the checks that must be manually reviewed, and those checks typically occur on every page of your site. The next tool available in Optimize is the Guidelines tool. This is a great tool for learning about all of the different WCAG version 2.2 level A and AA compliance checks. The tool is broken down into the 4 principles of accessibility. With this tool, you'll be able to see all of the errors, warnings, and review items for each particular guideline. If you click on the number of pages, you'll get a list of all of the pages the check is found on. The Pages with Ignored Checks is a useful tool for being able to see all of the checks that have been marked on your site to be ignored by the Optimize scanner. This tool is essentially an audit tool so you can see which checks are no longer being performed by Optimize. We recommend you periodically review this page within Optimize to determine if there are any pages that have ignored checks that need to be rescanned or that may have been accidentally marked as ignored. You may also see a tool available within Optimize for checking PDF accessibility. While Optimize automatically scans most document and media types, PDFs are inventoried but not automatically scanned for accessibility. The state of Arizona is not currently using this service as it requires an additional charge. We recommend all PDFs be checked for accessibility within the tool that was used to create the PDF and prior to uploading it to your website. If you'd like to discuss purchasing credits for scanning your agency's PDF files, please contact ADOA ASET. The final menu item in the accessibility section is a color contrast tool, which is used for manually checking if color combinations meet accessibility standards. Now that you're familiar with the overall features and layout of the accessibility tool within Optimize, let's cover some of the additional support and training resources that are available. We already touched on the Aquia Optimize knowledge base. You can access this tool by clicking on the graduation icon used throughout Optimize. When you access this tool, it will direct you to a particular page within the knowledge base related to a particular issue. You can also access the knowledge base by clicking the help symbol with a question mark in the top right of each page within Optimize. When you click on the tool this way, it will open up a new page with a great deal of information about the tool. It also includes user guides, lots of documentation, and how to use each of the accessibility features within Optimize. If you have questions on how to use the Aquia Optimize tool itself, you can also contact an Aquia support specialist by clicking on the Contact Support link in the top right of each page. This will open up a side panel and allow you to send a message to their online support staff, as well as search their help directory for frequently asked questions related to the tool. In addition to the Aquia Optimize support resources, ADOA Asset offers bi-weekly 30-minute trainings on how to use the Aquia Optimize tool. Please note that the Optimize service is being offered to state agencies at no charge. Due to this, we do not have the resources to provide customized support beyond adding your site and users to the Optimize tool. We ask that you please take advantage of the numerous resources available online for any questions you have. For more information on accessibility, please review our Web Accessibility Handbook for content authors. This guide serves as your essential resource for creating digital products and content that are accessible to everyone, including individuals with disabilities. We also encourage you to join the Digital Accessibility Google Chat Space, which is a discussion forum for all state employees working to improve the accessibility of online services, applications, and websites. Thank you for watching this video. Please visit our YouTube channel to watch additional videos in this series.